Imagine you're finally ready to buy your first home. You've done everything people have told you to do. You've built your career, stayed out of unnecessary debt, spent years saving for a down payment, and now you're excited to start looking. You go online, schedule a few tours, attend some open houses, and then something strange happens. Everything you like is already pending. The homes that aren't pending need far more work than you expected. You write an offer and someone pays cash. You write another offer and lose again. Before long, you begin asking yourself a question that thousands of Orange County buyers are quietly asking themselves every day. Am I doing something wrong? But what if I told you you aren't? What if the rules to buying your first home changed while nobody was paying attention? Because after helping hundreds of Orange County buyers over the years, I've become convinced that most people are focused on the wrong problem entirely. And once you understand what's really happening, you realize why some buyers continue finding opportunities, while others feel like homeownership is slipping further and further away every single year. For generations, buying your first home followed a simple formula. You didn't start with your dream home, you started with your first home. Maybe it was a small condo, a townhome, or a modest house that needed some work. But it gave you something incredibly valuable, a place to begin. You build equity, your home appreciated over time, and you eventually moved into something bigger and better. The path helped millions of American families build wealth, and for many people, it became the foundation of the American dream. But after helping hundreds of buyers throughout Orange County, I've started asking a question I never thought I'd have to ask. Has the first step quietly disappeared? Not because people don't want to become homeowners, but because true entry-level opportunities have become harder and harder to find. So today, we want to answer one question that I think every first-time buyer is asking, whether they've admitted to themselves or not. Can the middle class still buy a home in Orange County? And we believe the answer is yes, but probably not for the same reasons you think. Most conversations about real estate revolve around interest rates, median home prices, or trying to predict whether the market is going up or down. Those are important conversations, but I think they're causing people to miss the bigger story. The real issue isn't affordability anymore, it's access. Because if the first rung on the homeownership ladder starts to disappear, everything else changes with it. It changes who gets the opportunity to build equity, who continues renting, who eventually moves up into their next home, and who slowly watches homeownership become something that always feels just out of reach. That's why this conversation matters so much. This isn't just about buying a house, it's about whether the traditional path to building wealth through homeownership still exists. And if it does, what that path actually looks like today. I've been fortunate enough to help hundreds of Orange County families buy and sell homes through all kinds of different market conditions. I've worked through bidding wars, rising interest rates, shifting inventory, and markets where buyers had far more negotiating power than they do today. One thing I've noticed over the last several years is that buyers' questions have completely changed. It used to be, which neighborhood should I buy in? Today, it's can we even buy at all? That shift tells me this isn't just a pricing story. Something much bigger has changed. Our goal today isn't to convince you that you should go out and buy a home tomorrow. It's simply to help you understand how today's market actually works. Because we believe better decisions come from better information, not better headlines. When most people talk about Orange County real estate, the first thing they say is homes are just too expensive. And honestly, I understand why. Prices have climbed dramatically over the last decade, and affordability is absolutely a challenge. But after working with buyers every day, we don't think price is actually the biggest story anymore. We think scarcity is. And those are two very different problems. If prices are the only issue, then the solution is relatively straightforward. Save more money, earn a higher income, or wait for lower interest rates. Those are difficult challenges, but at least they're predictable. Scarcity is different. Scarcity means even if you're financially ready, there simply aren't enough opportunities available. Think about what a traditional starter home used to represent. It probably wasn't perfect. Maybe it had an outdated kitchen, needed new flooring, or was in a neighborhood that wasn't your first choice. But it gave buyers something incredibly valuable, a place to start. The goal wasn't perfection. The goal was getting onto the homeownership ladder. Once you owned a home, appreciation and equity often opened doors that renting never could. Today, that first step feels much harder to find. It's common to see a well-priced starter home receive multiple offers almost immediately. Buyers spend weeks refreshing listing apps, scheduling tours, writing offers, and it still feels like they never had a realistic chance. I've sat across the table from buyers who were fully qualified to purchase a home. Yet after losing a few homes, they became convinced they simply weren't meant to own a home in Orange County. The surprising part wasn't their finances. It was how quickly the market changed their confidence. That's one of the biggest changes we've noticed over the last several years. The conversation has shifted from which home should I buy to can we even buy one? Those are two completely different mindsets. But here's what's interesting. When buyers lose home after home, almost everyone reaches the same conclusion. It's the investors. And honestly, we used to think that too. The more transactions we've watched, the more we realize investors were only a small piece of a much bigger puzzle. Because once you look beyond the headlines, you start seeing something much more surprising. The competition itself has changed. And I don't think most buyers realize who they're actually competing against. If you've ever lost out on a home, you probably imagine someone walking in with a suitcase full of cash, or a large investment company buying another property for its portfolio. While that certainly happens from time to time, I don't think it's the biggest story in Orange County. The reality is much more nuanced than that. Think about someone who's selling their home that they've owned for 15 or 20 years. During that time, they've built hundreds of thousands of dollars in equity. When they buy their next home, they're not starting at the same point as a first-time buyer starts. They're bringing years, sometimes decades, of appreciation with them. Then there's the buyers receiving help from their parents with down payments, and dual income households with significantly greater purchasing power. Buyers who can remove contingency, buyers who can close quickly after selling another property, and yes, investors too. None of these buyers are doing anything wrong. They simply are entering the market from a very different starting point. And when all of those groups are competing for the same limited number of homes, something important happens. The floor underneath entry-level housing becomes much stronger. Not because one group is pushing prices higher, but because several different sources of demand are all chasing the same limited supply at the same time. So if that's what's really happening, the obvious question becomes this: if so many people still want starter homes, why aren't we building enough of them? At this point, the question asks itself, if demand for entry-level housing is so strong, why doesn't the market simply build more of it? After all, that's how we were taught markets work. If people want something badly enough, business creates more of it. But real estate, it's not nearly that simple. Imagine you're a developer looking at a piece of land in Orange County. Before construction even begins, you've already paid a premium for the land. Then come architectural plans, engineering, permits, environmental reviews, impact fees, financing, insurance, labor, materials, and months, sometimes years before a single home can be sold. Now ask yourself this: if all those costs are already incredibly high, does it make more financial sense to build a modest starter home or a larger, more expensive home that generates a much higher return? That's the reality developers face every day. It's not that they don't understand buyers' needs for more affordable homes. It's that the economics often reward building more expensive homes instead. Then you add zoning restrictions, lengthy approval processes, neighborhood opposition to high-density projects, and the simple fact that Orange County has very little undeveloped land left. None of these issues are easy to solve, and none of them are likely to change overnight. That's why we don't believe a flood of new construction is suddenly going to make Orange County affordable again. And once you understand that, another important question starts to emerge. If waiting for more inventory probably isn't the answer, what is?
Now, the biggest mistake first-time home buyers are making today, and this is probably the hardest part of today's market to talk about because it's based on advice that used to make perfect sense. For years, people were told to wait until prices come down, wait until interest rates improve, wait until you can afford something bigger, wait until the perfect house comes along. And in different markets, that advice wasn't necessarily wrong. But today, I think waiting has almost become a default strategy. I met buyers who've been waiting 3, 4, even 5 years because they keep hoping the market will go back to what it used to be. The problem is, markets rarely move backward in the way people imagine. That doesn't mean prices never decline or that corrections never happen. They absolutely do. But the conditions that existed 10 or 15 years ago were created by a completely different economy, different interest rates, different inventory levels, and different buyer behavior. I don't think the question should be, when will the old market come back? I think the better question is, how do I succeed in the market that's actually in front of me today? That's a much more empowering question because it's one you can actually do something about. In fact, this is exactly why we created our first-time homebuyer guide. One of the biggest challenges we see isn't that buyers aren't motivated, it's that they don't know where to start. There are so many opinions online that it's hard to know what's actually true. So we put together a free guide that walks you through the entire buying process step by step, from preparing financially and choosing the right loan to writing competitive offers and avoiding some of the biggest mistakes I see first-time buyers make every day. Even if you're still a year or two away from buying, we encourage you to download it now because the buyers who are most successful usually begin preparing long before they ever submit their first offer. You can grab a free copy using a link in the description below. We think it'll make everything we've talked about today much easier to put into practice. Now, number 5, the buyers who are still winning think differently. One of the biggest surprises I've had over the years is that buyers succeeding today usually aren't the ones with unlimited budgets. They're the ones who have the right expectations. They understand their first home probably won't be for their forever home, and they are completely okay with that because they recognize what the first purchase really represents. It's an opportunity to begin building equity instead of continuing to watch from the sidelines. They're willing to consider a condo instead of a detached home. They're open to townhomes, smaller properties, or neighborhoods they hadn't originally considered. They focus less on buying the perfect house and more on buying the right opportunity first. One of my favorite moments in this business is calling a buyer to tell them their offer has finally been accepted after they started believing it would never happen. Almost every one of those conversations ends the same way. They tell me, "I'm so glad we didn't give up." What's interesting is that almost none of those buyers purchased their dream home first. They bought their first home, the starter home. And that's exactly how wealth has been built through real estate for generations. The buyers who are still winning today haven't discovered some secret strategy. They simply accepted that the rules changed, and instead of fighting today's market conditions, they've learned how to work within it. Which brings us back to the question we started this entire video with. After everything we've talked about, can the middle class still buy a home in Orange County? So, can the middle class still buy a home in Orange County? After everything we've talked about, here's our answer. Yes. I absolutely believe the middle class can still buy a home in Orange County, but I also believe the definition of a successful first home has changed a bit. If success means buying the same detached home your parents bought 20 or 30 years ago under the same conditions, then today's market is going to be incredibly challenging. But if success means getting your foot in the door, beginning to build equity, and creating options for your future, then opportunities absolutely still exist. The buyers we see succeeding today aren't necessarily earning dramatically more than everyone else. They are the ones who stop trying to perfectly time the market and start building a strategy around the things they can actually control. They prepare financially, they stay flexible, they understand that their first home is not the finish line, it's the first step. And perhaps most importantly, they recognize that waiting has a cost too. Every month you're waiting for yesterday's market to return is another month you're not building any equity in your home. That doesn't mean everyone should rush out and buy a home tomorrow. Home ownership isn't the right decision for every person or every stage of your life. But if buying a home is one of your long-term goals, I think your energy is much better spent preparing yourself for the right opportunity than trying to predict exactly what the market is going to do next year. One of the reasons I love working throughout Orange County is because no two cities tell exactly the same story. While one community may have almost no true entry-level inventory available, another just a few miles away offers opportunities that many buyers completely overlooked. We worked with buyers who were convinced they had missed their chance to own a home here, only to discover that expanding their search by just a few miles, considering a townhome instead of a detached house, or adjusting their expectations slightly, completely changed what was possible for them. Orange County is not just one housing market. It's dozens of unique neighborhoods, each with different inventory levels, different competition, and different opportunities. That's why local knowledge matters so much. Sometimes the difference between continuing to rent and becoming a homeowner is not your income. It's knowing where the opportunities actually exist today. If there's one thing I hope you take away from this video, it's this. I don't think the American dream has disappeared. I think it moved. The path into homeownership looks different than it did for previous generations, but different does not mean impossible. It simply means today's buyers just need a different map. Every generation has faced its own housing challenges, and ours happens to be navigating limited inventory, stronger competition, and a market that rewards preparation more than ever before. The buyers who build wealth over the next decade probably won't be the ones who perfectly predict interest rates or wait for the perfect market. They'll be the ones who understands today's realities, make smart decisions based on the market they're actually in, and take advantage of opportunities when they're ready. My goal with this channel has never been to convince you to buy a house right now. My goal is to help you make better real estate decisions, whether that's buying next month, next year, or deciding that waiting is actually the right choice for your current situation. If you understand the market, you're far more likely to make the decision that's right for you instead of reacting to headlines or just some random opinions online. If buying your first home is one of your goals, I'd encourage you to download our free first-time homebuyer guide using the link in the description below. It walks you through the entire process, step by step, and gives you a practical roadmap for preparing to buy in today's market. And if you'd like to talk through your own situation, whether you're ready to buy now, or you're simply trying to build a plan for the future, my team and I will be happy to help you. We can sit down, talk about your goals, answer your questions, and help you create a strategy that's built around your timeline, no one else's. And if you enjoyed this video, consider subscribing. Every week, we create videos designed to help you better understand the Orange County real estate market so you can make confident, informed real estate decisions without the hype, fear, or clickbait that's out there. Thanks so much for watching the video. If you're still here, YouTube's recommending the video right here or right here. We'll see you on our next one. Thanks for watching.